This is Build It Baby, the show for big ideas, brave pivots, and bold next chapters. So let's do it. Let's build it, baby. Well, hey there, I'm Penelope Bent, and this is Build It Baby. You know, if you're in the midst of closing a chapter, if you're asking yourself, what's next? Perhaps you just retired after a long career or were forced into the retirement phase. Maybe you're just looking around after raising a family or after stepping away from something big. And if you've ever thought, Wait, just a sec. I'm not done yet. Well, you're in exactly the right place. Because this isn't a finish line. It's a freedom line. It's a line to step over into a new chapter. So let's build it, baby. So let's chat for a sec about this word that I've been kind of chewing on lately. Reinvention. And take a look for a sec at what that really means and why it's never too late and how this next chapter might just be your best one. I know that so many of us, we grew up in being told that life happens in stages. You learn, you work, you retire. But for so many of us, that story doesn't fit anymore. I honestly wonder whether the damn thing ever fit to begin with. Maybe it just never did. We're healthier today. We're wiser. I mean, gosh, look at technology. We have knowledge at our fingertips. And we're more creative than ever. And maybe, just maybe, there's still something we're meant to say, teach, build, or share. Because retirement and, empty nesting or a layoff or a relationship shift, these aren't endings. They're transitions. They're a pause before the next evolution of who you are. I've been looking at them recently as chapters. I've been fortunate to have lived a long time and have really had an amazing ride. So when I look at the book, the whole volume, if you will, I realize that we're creating chapters as we move forward through this thing called life. And just what if this closed to one chapter, this period of your life, isn't about slowing down, but maybe it's about showing up differently. People think reinvention means starting from scratch. But the truth, you're not starting over. You're just starting wiser. You've already done the hard work. You've built skills, relationships. You have some resilience that you've built. Now you get to repurpose all of that into something that fits this new version of you. Maybe it's writing the book that you've been thinking about. Maybe it's teaching a class. Maybe it's finally launching the creative project you have shelved for years. Reinvention isn't about becoming someone new. It's really about remembering who you've always been and letting that version lead. Because maybe the next chapter isn't about retiring. Maybe it's just about writing a new chapter. And if there's one thing I know for sure, the best stories don't end. They evolve. So let me ask you this. If you weren't done yet, what would you build next? What's been tugging at you quietly, waiting for permission to grow? When the idea of the podcast first came about, it was really, really interesting because I had, retired from fashion, and by the grace of God, got into the recruiting industry, which was very similar in the business model, so to speak. But for years, I have just been feeling like I had something I wanted to share. There was, something I wanted to share with other people, a feeling that I needed my voice to get out. But I had no idea how that was really to transpire. And then, with a very serendipity type of experience, the idea of creating a podcast was dropped into my reality. It was like this gift. It was this open window of, aha, that's how I can share my thoughts. That's how I can share my feelings. I was so passionate about sharing my experiences and trying to help others have a clearer, cleaner, easier path, or pick up a few little bits of ideas here and there. I knew I wasn't done. And I knew just sitting there quietly in this beautiful environment. I mean, I have a great environment, but I'm a busy person. And there was just something eating at me. I needed to get it out. And I didn't know how to really ask the universe for that because I couldn't put the tool together. I couldn't figure the instrument. I didn't see it as going in and teaching another class. I just really couldn't put my head around it. And then the idea of the podcast came in, actually from someone that I would never, ever have guessed would have called me up one day and said, "Hey, I really want you to think about doing this podcast." So you don't need this gigantic business plan or a big announcement. There just needs to be a spark and a willingness to follow it. The spark had been brewing inside my heart or my soul or my head. I'm not sure. I just know it was there, and I really didn't share it with anyone. I was just kind of a silent thing that I was thinking to myself, wow, I just like to get out there again. I just couldn't put it together. And here are four ideas, four suggestions as to the ways that you can begin. I think you have to ask yourself, what lights me up now? That answer might really surprise you. And, this is in the privacy of your own little meditative space. This is you digging down to the real you and asking you, what lights me up? And for me, it was interesting because every time I would think about what lights me up, I would think, there's no way to do that. I mean, how the hell am I going to do that? And I learned, don't do that. Don't do what I did. Don't put a pillow over the idea and smother it just because you can't quite figure out how that's going to become a reality. Apparently, with the universe, my passion, my heart, my soul was out there screaming, I need to get out and I need to share. And then the universe just kind of went, oh, really? Okay, well, here we go. I had no clue intellectually how that was going to happen. So that reflective moment is much more powerful than you think. So if there's an inner voice that is tugging at you, don't poo-hoo that because you can't intellectually figure out the channel. You just look at it, feel it, think it. And then take a look at the idea or list your top 3 skills or experiences on how they could serve a new audience or a new purpose. I believe that if your gut is telling you, I have more to give, and it interests you, it will interest others. There's your door to success. It interests you. If it interests you, it will interest others. So look at those, your skill set, your experiences. What are those pieces and parts that are so interesting? And then surround yourself with people who are also in motion. They're dreamers, they're doers, they're believers. Their energy expands where it's encouraged. I noticed as I was maturing, there was a definite, what's the right word? There was a definite division of, oh my gosh, those are my dear friends, but they're moving through life at a different pace than I am. They've chosen to remove themselves from a lot of activities. They've chosen a very quiet, sedentary life. And, I'm the frickin' Energizer bunny running around here. So I'm trying to find, okay, I'm just looking for another playground. And I think that there's a kind of a shift. Many of your friends, they may end up going that way. Well, then hold on to surround yourself with the folks that are still on the move. And if it means inviting new friends into your reality, then by gosh, do that. Age is this ridiculous thing that is not the deal breaker here. I have met lots of young people that I am very excited about what they're doing. And you know what? Believe it or not, they're excited about what I'm doing. And I'm not looking at them and going, oh my God, you're only 22. And they're sure as hell not looking at me going, oh my God, you're 76. Who the hell cares if we're all really in that creative process? And then there's one last must-have ingredient. And I even hate to say this word because I know that it can be taken very differently. But the word is belief or faith. And when I say faith, I'm not talking about religion. I respect every religion that is out there, and I respect the folks that believe in their religion. But I do believe that there is an inner knowing, the quiet voice that says, you've still got more to give. You have to have faith in that soul piece of you, that piece that you did not create, but was the gift that you were given when you were born. The universe is forever expanding. So how in the hell could you possibly think that your creative soul, your energy, your essence is not always wanting to jump out of the box and go, yeah, let's go for this next ride, baby. So faith in yourself. Faith in the experience that this is going to be another great chapter, another amazing ride. Faith that everything you've lived through has been preparing you for what's next. It's giving you all the pieces and parts. It's giving you the necessary endurance required. And the truth is, reinvention starts with the belief that you can, and the belief that the universe will provide the way. You don't need to know the way. I didn't need to know the way. I just needed to feel the spark, I want to share. I'm not done yet. I want to share my voice with others. And by God, within a matter of months, that knock was on my door. And I really believe if there's a spark inside of you that says, I still have something beautiful to build, then by God, build it. That's faith in motion. Remember, you don't have to do it all at once. Reinvention or rewriting this new chapter doesn't happen overnight. It unfolds one aligned step at a time. And most importantly, from my heart to yours, there is no age requirement for building. Life is very long, my friend. So I say, get busy with it. So here's the part where I tell you exactly what I know. These are my knowings, the things I no longer question because they've shown themselves to me again and again. Not from a book, but from building, getting knocked down, getting back up, and doing this work in the real world. Okay, so these are my knowings. I know that any thought of lack or delay crumble away and I step into my all good. Number 2. I know that loving and enjoying what I do for a living opens my secret door to success. If I find it interesting, I believe others will. And number 3, I know that all of my past experiences have given me the knowledge and, most importantly, the endurance to climb my next mountain. I embrace all of my life, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, it's time for listener questions. Here we go. This is Lana from Las Vegas, Nevada. What is one of the smartest things you ever did in business? Well, I don't know how smart it's all been. No, just kidding, Lana. That's a very interesting question because I think, especially for women, we never think we're smart. And half the time when we're successful, we give credit to everyone else and lay awake at night going, wow, how in the hell did that happen? But I think that I have a couple of things that I feel like I did well. I think the smartest first thing I ever did was I didn't listen to those opposing the idea of me leaving a very secure job at Kaiser Hospital and going into business for myself. I wasn't trying to rebel against anyone. I respect everyone's opinion. I just kind of went for it. In the back of my head, I kept saying, I didn't burn my bridges. I said to myself, I never will go back to Kaiser Hospital. Not that I didn't love the nursing element side of things, working in the OBGYN clinic there and so on and so forth. But in the darkest of my secrets, I said, I will never go back there. And when I found that I was just at the top of my joy level, creating and expanding the first gift business that we bought, I just knew I was in the right place, and I knew I would never go back. So for me, individually, that was one of the smartest things I ever did. Because I think at the end of the day, 76 years later, well, actually, I was 22. So let's say, 54 years later, I am so grateful that I did not respond to those very severe, you're being disowned. Well, hell, I wasn't planning on receiving anything anyhow, so what the hell? And it was hard to think that, part of my family were never going to talk to me again, but, whatever. But they came around in kind of an odd way, but that was all good. So I'm glad I did that. And then I also think, and this is for everyone out there, because I sure as hell am not, the brilliant one. But I saw an opening in the market that needed to be filled when I was in the modeling business. And seeing that opening, thinking to myself, oh, hell, this is so irritating. It's so disgusting. It's costing us a fortune having, models and actors come in that are pretty, but they don't know shit from Shinola. I made sure that I filled that opening. So today, as I know that everyone thinks that technology is all that, there's a lot of areas that need help, that need new ideas, that we can come up with some businesses and some ideas. If I hadn't tried to fill that opening, I would not have worked in that company for over 40 years. I mean, think about that. That one idea created an income for myself and my family for over 40 years. I'd say that was a pretty smart decision. So that was a smart move. And then this sounds really basic, but when you're in business, you have a lot of tax benefits. I really liked that a lot because you get a much bigger tax break. You have 1 billion write-offs that are very legal and appropriate. But the one thing that I never, ever skimped on was making sure that my Social Security benefits were paid. And I think that is such a huge issue with so many new businesses or old businesses. I have business owners in the restaurant business. There's a big cash element in the restaurant business. And rather than pay their Social Security taxes, they didn't want to pay taxes and were, there's not a lot of profit in the restaurant business. It's a very tight profit margin in a lot of businesses. Even in the clothing store, it was very small profit margin. You worked your ass off. But, when it came down to tax time, that $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000, man, it was tough to write that check for Social Security. And I was young. Social Security, oh, hell. I'm never going to need Social Security. Well, that's not true. So I say, if you don't do anything when you pay your taxes and you try to use all the write-offs, I get it. They're legal and I use them. But I really feel like it's important to make sure that you fill those Social Security benefits. Because I'll tell you, one day when you think those Energizer Bunny batteries will never run out, there will be a time when you're about 64, 65, and you will not be able to run at the pace that you ran before. And knowing that you have that little bit of something coming in that you can count on, that you could, keep your overhead down to just those numbers, will give you peace of mind at night. So every business owner out there, small or big, make sure that those Social Security numbers are taken out. And thank you for the question. I don't really ever think that I did very much really smart, but I do know I did that, and I am really grateful for having done that. Thank you, Lana, for the question. Well, thanks for tuning in to Build It, Baby. Reinvention isn't about discarding what came before. It's about reclaiming your experience and shaping it into something that fits who you've become. Because the truth is, every chapter of your life has been preparing you for this one. So go ahead and build it, baby. Always best, P. Build It Baby is a Rainy Day Production House original, hosted by Penelope Bent and produced and edited by Morgan Clymer. Music by Yuri Shemshashen and Oleksiy Holobiev. If this episode spoke to you, please follow the show and leave a review. It helps more dreamers like you find us. And remember, you're not just building a bold business or a career, you're building a bold life.